And we're live. Okay. Good afternoon, good morning, or good night, wherever you are in the world. My name is Frank Dorff, and welcome to another episode of Digital Classroom. Now, today it's all about something that's very dear to my heart, creating great images without actually breaking the bank. And that's, of course, something that's important, right? We don't have unlimited budget and we want to make sure that we can actually pull off great shots without breaking that budget. So the first thing we want to know is we want to make sure that our audio is all right. So if somebody in the chat can say that the audio is all right, because we're switching between systems. Today we're using Wirecast again, just to make sure that this one goes right, because Enweek knows how Wirecast works. So Enweek, is the audio okay? Okay, and we is checking for the audio, or somebody else in the chat, just let us know. Yeah, that sounds okay. Okay, so today it's all about using something like more of a hybrid strobe in the studio. And of course, you can also use them on location. We're talking about the Geekoto strobes. So join us for today's episode of Digital Classroom, of course. And there we go again. Okay, first of all, of course, we love doing Digital Classroom for you guys, but without the support of some companies, it's actually always impossible to do stuff like this. We have a lot of cameras, we have lighting, we have friends helping us out, we have models. There's a lot of stuff going on that you guys don't see, but that actually runs in the backdrop. And of course, the gear. So we would like to thank some companies, and I would like to introduce them personally, because with most of those companies we also have a little bit of a background. So let me just introduce you first to BenQ. Now BenQ we all know from monitors, of course. Many years ago we started using BenQ, and in all honesty I never looked back. Great monitors, great pricing. And at this moment we're actually testing a brand new monitor in the photography series, the 272U. It's an amazing new design, and no bezels on the side and top, and it just looks absolutely awesome. And they finally made the puck actually wireless. And of course still Adobe RGB hardware calibratable and whatnot more. Now BenQ has many monitors in the lower section, so for example the P3 color space or sRGB, depending on what you want. And we're of course mostly using the Adobe RGB monitors. Now when you buy a monitor, it's really important that you buy the monitor that fits your workflow. In our case, that's mostly 27 or 32 inches, but most of all, because we're doing color critical work with photography and video, we want monitors that have a hardware calibratable option. You can calibrate via software, but you can also calibrate inside the monitor. And as you can probably guess, that's a lot better. Now, another company that has been with us literally from the start is our friends from Rogue. And actually last year we had a long talk with them, and we decided to take up distribution for the Benelux for Rogue. Now Rogue is a great company. John and Eric we know personally for over 15 years. And that's the kind of company that listens to the photographers. If we tell them like, hey, this doesn't really work, you need to change it, they're the first ones to send me a new copy with the changed specs, and it always works out with them. I have my own product with them, the Frank Dorff Flash Bender, which you probably already know, but let me just show them because we're so proud of them. It's the strip light, soft light, and of course also the Flash Bender itself. And you can fold it into a snoot. We're going to use that one today too. And of course you know them from the Expo disc, the umbrella, and the magnetic system, which I'm also going to use today. Now, when you shoot in the studio or on location, you want to make sure that you see your images. So that's one other sponsor for us, and that's Cascable. Cascable is a new sponsor. We started with them just a few weeks ago. And the thing that Cascable does is actually not that much for expensive like Photoshop or Lightroom. They're very focused on apps that you really need and that really works. So when we're in the studio, we're using Cascable on the iPad Pro to shoot tethered. The nice thing is we don't have to pay a monthly subscription. You can also buy the app, one big advantage for me. And of course, it doesn't only work wireless, but you can also use a USB-C cable to do it. Now, when you're shooting tethered, you of course want to make sure that you have the best connection available. Now look at that. So IQ Wire, we became distributor of them, I think last year in March or April. And it's one of the few companies that actually deliver a 10-meter USB-C to USB-C cable with boosters. And the thing is, that's important because you want to use one cable for all your cameras. And because there's boosters inside, you have extra power. And you don't need power, by the way, it just draws it from your laptop or your iPad. And the cool thing is that now you can use pigtails. So if you have an older camera with USB-A or USB-C or USB micro or USB mini, it doesn't really matter. We have converters for everything, one cable to rule them all. Now some people ask me like, Frank, is it really important to have 10 meters? We can have 4.7, that works too. Yes, it does. There's only one thing that a lot of people don't think about. A 10-meter cable gives you way more range than a 5-meter cable. Let me explain that very quickly. I'm a tall guy, I'm about 2 meters high. When I place my laptop or my iPad on a stand, it's about 1 meters 50 high. So that means that the first 1 meters 50 goes down. Now I am 2 meters high, so when I shoot, let's say 1 meter 50 again. So that's already 3 meters. It means that if I use 3 meters already to go down and to go up to my laptop again, I only have 1.7 meters left to walk around my laptop. If I use more, the cable will actually lift up from the ground, and then you get a lot of problems with people tripping over it, yanking your cable out of your camera, and in other words, a lot of damage. By using a 10-meter cable, I'm still losing 3 meters, but now I have 7 meters left. So instead of 1.7 meters, I now have 7 meters left to walk around without my cable coming off the floor. That's a huge advantage. I can't tell you how much that saves you in just your mindset. Okay, and of course we want to make sure that if we shoot an image, the image comes in exactly the same way that we intended it. We want to use presets, and those presets should render the same results over and over, right? But we also want to make sure that our monitors display those images great. Calibrite has a whole lineup of stuff, including, of course, Calibrite units for your monitor, calibrator units for your printer, but we're also using in the studio, of course, the Color Checker Duo or Color Checker Passport or Color Checker Video. They also have a lot of those. The reason is actually very simple. You want to make sure that if you shoot something that's red, it actually renders at red. That's why you use a color checker in your camera. However, you also want to make sure that your monitor displays that red as the pure red. So that's why you use a unit on your monitor. If you have a fully calibrated workflow, in essence, it's really easy to get exactly the same results over and over again. And finally, when we want a great setup in our studio, we of course want to make sure that we have great backgrounds. ClickPro backgrounds has been around for many years, and they create really nice backdrops on vinyl and of course also on Pro Fabric. Today we're going to show you the vinyl backdrops because those are a little bit more harsh. Now the reason I'm telling you guys this is not as an advertisement, because if it's an advertisement I can make a video of 20 seconds introducing the sponsors. I'm actually doing it this way, and I will be doing this every single time slightly different. Because we get so many questions from you guys about, hey, how does it work? How does this work? Why do you choose this? I thought, you know what, let's introduce the sponsored this way and just give you a little bit more of an overview. Okay, so let's go back to the program for today. Now, if you guys have any questions in between, let me just here in the comments section on YouTube, and Anouk is monitoring Facebook?
Yes.
Great. We did a lot of workshops recently, so my voice is a little bit shattered, but I am going to try to manage the whole session through. Okay, so first things first, the Geekoto strobes. Let me see, I don't have a Geekoto in my hand here, but can you give me one of the Geekoto strobes, Anouk, and one of the Hensels, please?
Which one?
It doesn't, just give me that one. That's okay. Awesome. And if you can give me also one of the Hensels. Okay, so this is one of the Geekoto strobes. This is actually the GT200 with our magnetic system attached from Rogue. As you can see here, we're using the speedlight adapter. We also have a GT250, which is actually round, and then we don't need the speedlight adapter, where you can just plug it in. Now, the most asked questions I get from you guys like, hey Frank, weren't you shooting Hensel? What happened with Hensel? Well, nothing happened with Hensel. They're still here. And I just wanted to show you the difference. So this is a Hensel strobe. This is a Geekoto strobe. Yeah, so don't ever ask me again if there's a difference between those strobes. Yes, there is. So let me explain simply what the difference is. Now, we all know speedlights, right? And when we're on location, we love to use speedlights for the very simple reason. You can put 3 or 4 in your bag, you can put your camera in there, light meter, color checker, whatnot more, and you can shoot on location with your whole studio. Take a flash bender, magnetic system, and you don't need any extra carrying cages. However, in the studio, well, you need a little bit more power and maybe some more robust strobes. So if they fall over, well, you can just pick them up and start shooting again. Or maybe you need to shoot 10 frames a second, or you need a stronger modeling light. Or you just need better strobes. Now, I'm not going to tell you guys that the Geekotos are anywhere in the neighborhood of the Hensels. That's simply not true, and I'm not here to lie to you guys. What I am going to tell you guys is something slightly different. If you take the Geekotos on location, you also have the support of, just like a speedlight, HSS, high speed sync. And that means you can do about 500 shots on full power with HSS on one battery. Now, the main advantage of shooting HSS is that you can break that 125th of a barrier, which of course is called your X-sync. So what is the X-sync? In normal cameras, the mirror locks up, and let's forget about the mirror, then the first shutter curtain is opened, followed by the second one. If you fire a normal strobe, a studio strobe like a Hensel or Elingram or Profoto too fast, so let's say with a shutter speed of 100 or 1/200 or whatever, anything above 125th, you will see a black bar in your screen. That's actually your second shutter curtain. By using HSS, you don't take one pulse, but the strobe actually pulsates over and over. And it means that you have more light instead of just one pulse. And this means you can shoot on a much higher shutter speed. You can actually shoot up to 1/8000th of a second. Another advantage of something like this is, of course, that it has HSS, but also ATTL. ETTL means metering through the lens. In essence, you don't have to use a light meter. Oh my, did I ever said something like that? But in essence, you don't need the light meter. You just hold it in the area where you want the light to fall, and the camera will figure everything out. Of course, you still need a light meter, because ATTL, although it's very good, it will give you in the ballpark. In other words, it's very close. You can correct it in Photoshop or Lightroom very easily. It's not 100% perfect. If you move around your model, the exposure will go up and down, depending on how your scene is set up. It always tries to get it 18% gray. So I'm still a big advocate of using manual mode with, of course, a light meter. But hey, if you are at a wedding, ETTL works like a charm. Now, I always call these strobes the hybrid strobes, because normally when you use a speedlight, for example, we've used Nissin for years and they're awesome strobes, there's nothing wrong with Nissin, but you only have 65, 75 watts. Even on high HSS, that's a little bit difficult to blow away the sun. With something like this, the cheapest one has already 200 watts. One up is the round strobe, the GT250. The name says it, it has 250 watts. And we're also using in the studio the 400s. Now, you hear me say in the studio, this is the big difference between the Hensels, Elingram, Profoto, Broncolor, whatever brand you want, and of course something like Geekoto. They're really hybrid strobes. So if you need full modeling power and you need it really on every location, a Hensel strobe or other brands will give you much more light output on your modeling light. However, that being said, we're also using the 400s, and they have a 10-watt LED modeling lamp, and that comes pretty close to what we get out of the Hensels. So, in essence, I hope that answered your questions. It's a totally different market. It's a totally different ball game. If you need power, strength, durability, and continuity, then something like a Hensel, Elingram, Profoto, Broncolor is, of course, the way to go. If you are a hobbyist or a professional that works a lot on location and in the studio, and you just want one setup, you don't want to bother with any power cables, you don't want to bother with changing over batteries mid-shoot, something like this, and especially for the price, it can be a great solution. So today we're going to use these, but there's something else. Of course, I can fit all my Hensel accessories on those strobes, and let's be honest, those Hensel accessories are absolutely awesome. But it can also be a little bit pricey and maybe a little bit too big to carry around, or you can't easily collapse them, except of course for an umbrella. So today I also want to show you some stuff that during the last few weeks we brought with us on location and actually found out to our joy, especially Emmeloord's joy, how easy it was to carry them around, because you don't need a lot. The magnetic system, a flash bender, 3 strobes, my camera, light meter, it all fits into one bag instead of 3 differently. So, are you guys ready to go into the studio with our model Lois? I think you are. But before, I want to show you a gift we got. You see the Prince logo. We recently had somebody over from Minneapolis. Gabe, if you're watching, thank you so very much. We had an awesome time with you, and thank you so much for the gifts. And Enwick actually also has a really nice gift, right? Mm-hmm. You don't want to see it on the camera?
Yes, I'll show it right away when you move.
She wants to wait till I move, so let's move. Are you ready for the setup?
I think I'm ready. Let's hope so.
Let's hope so, indeed. You never know, right? Okay.
Then you have to tell about the t-shirt.
Oh yeah, so this is a t-shirt you got from Gabe, and it's from the Prince fan store, right?
Yeah.
And it's made out of materials that he used inside his jackets.
Correct.
But you're much bigger than Prince.
It's the XL size.
Ah, so it's not all the material he used. No, it's a copy probably. Okay, let's see where I got my light meter. And let's just start very simple by using one GT200, and that's the rectangular strobe. And let's just stand against that wall if you want, Lois. How are you?
I'm fine.
Are you looking forward to it?
Yes.
Me too. Awesome. So we're both looking forward to it. That's nice. Okay, let's turn this way. So one of the things that I like about setting up strobes like this is actually that we have a pistol grip. Now, as you can see, I'm using a normal stand, but all the other stands are boom stands. And a boom stand is actually a stand that you can extend and a boom. I don't know where the boom stand comes from. And maybe they go boom if they fall over or whatever. But it's a stand that you can extend, so it doesn't fit into your scene. You can actually just lift your strobes over. But most of all, boom stands are great to angle your strobes. Now, as you can see here, with the pistol grip, we can do that easily. But let's first just aim it at our model. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. So let's just open this up, go all the way up, up, up. And of course, we're going to aim it a little bit higher than our model. And then use the pistol grip and then just aim it towards her. And there we go. Turn it on. Always helps. And the first thing you're going to notice that's different is the same thing with speed lights. We now have channels and groups. Now, of course, we're using channel 1 in our studio, but we also have groups. And this is nice because now I can place 4 different strobes in 4 different groups on one remote. So I don't have to walk to the strobes anymore. I can just very simply, on the remote control, select my group and change the output, turn on the modeling lights or off, and of course zoom if my strobe supports zoom. So let's start out by simply putting this on, let's go to 1/3200th of a second, 1/32 of power. And let's grab a light meter. I already had the light meter. There we go. And I'm also going to shout out the flash duration of the strobes while I'm metering. Now, this light meter also meters the flash duration. Now, why is flash duration important? We want to make sure that when a model moves around that we freeze that action. We don't want that it looks blurry, right? We want to make sure that it's pin sharp. Now, the normal way to do this is with shutter speed. So a very high shutter speed, you freeze motion. With strobes, well, we're still stuck with 125th of a second in the studio because we're not shooting HSS. So that means that I need a very fast flash duration. Now, normally cheaper strobes you will find around 1/500 to 1,000th of a second, which is not enough to freeze motion. For motion, you need at least 1/1500th, preferable 1/2000th of a second. Anything higher than 1/1500th, you can work with and is no problem at all. So this is why during the workshop, or during this live broadcast, I will shout out the flash duration every single time so you know exactly where it goes. Okay, let's switch over from radio to normal mode. Okay, hold it in front of my model. There we go. And we are at 17,100. So that's more than enough to freeze motion at a 4.05. So let's go down a little bit. There we go. So that should be around F4. There we go. 18,500ths of a second. More than enough to freeze motion. So F4. And let's grab our camera. And we're going to go for F4. ISO 100. Now, this is the most ugly light you're going to see today, because this is one of the strobes aimed straight at our model. No modification, nothing, just straight on our model. And there we go. So as you can see, not the most beautiful light in the world. Actually, it's pretty harsh. On the other hand, we also love harsh light, right? Because when you look at old Hollywood movies, those lights were always hard. But they were not this hard. They were mostly a little bit softer, and they were used by Fresnels. Now, what is a Fresnel? A Fresnel is a very nice lens quality, which you can also use to modify your lights. I'm not going to show you that at this moment, but we are going to show you that later on in the broadcast. First, I want to show you how we can create something that's a little bit nicer than this. Now, when you look at the image, there's nothing wrong with the image. The exposure is great, the model looks great, I love the styling. I don't even have a problem with the shadow behind our model for the very simple reason. It fits the set, but it also doesn't excite me. I miss something. And the thing that I miss is, I think, a little bit softer light quality. Now, one of the first accessories you can use for that is, of course, an umbrella. Now, we're going to stay in the budget area, so let's pick up a very nice umbrella. And of course, we're using our own brands. We're not making any secrets of that. This is the so-called Rogue umbrella. Now, the thing about the umbrella is we all start out with umbrellas. And we all hate umbrellas for the very simple reason light scatters everywhere. The thing with an umbrella is actually, when you are better in your photography and you have more light control, you start to more appreciate the light sources which you used in the past and didn't like. In other words, I absolutely hated the umbrella for many years. I always told people, the only thing the umbrella is good for is for rain, and we got more than enough rain in the Netherlands. However, when Rogue came out with their new umbrella, and this is a fiberglass umbrella, so it means it can't break that easily, I had to make a video about it. And during the creation of the video, I found out that because my level of photography has grown so much over the years, I actually now appreciate the umbrella, and I think it's not one of the easiest light sources to use. It's probably one of the most hardest light sources to use. But it's awesome to just very quickly, what we call, create a Smuleboek photo. You know what a Smuleboek photo is, Lois?
No.
No? It's a photo of your smoel to go in a book.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay.
Everybody that works in a company knows what a Smuleboek photo actually is. It's about the same as going to the dentist. You hate it. So what is a Smuleboek photo? A Smuleboek photo is actually a picture just of your face, your smoel, and it goes into a book. Now, nowadays they don't go really into a book anymore, they go on the website. So I want to make sure that you shoot something that's evenly lit, as flat as possible, no expression of course, and it has to be neutral. An umbrella, great for that. The only thing is, I don't want a picture of myself, I want a picture of my model. So let's turn this around and aim it at our model. Now, of course, if I aim it too high and low, you will get these nasty shadows underneath your model's face. You don't want that. So for the umbrella, we're actually going to go a little bit lower. There we go. We're going to use that pistol grip again to aim the light a little bit. And what I love to do, is of course, lock it. Sorry, that's my mistake. I didn't lock it. There we go. That's better. Okay, put the umbrella on again. Try to do that with the softbox. Okay, a little bit higher up. This is nice. Okay, no problem. Use a light meter. That's the thing that will, or you know what? Let's do ETTL for now. Oh my. You know why I trust ETTL at the moment? Very simple. It's broad light. It's very, very aimed at my model. So it's already there. And I think the camera will do fine at the moment with just ETTL. So I'm not metering anything. There we go, ETTL. It's a little bit on the low side for the exposure. That's why I love using light meters. Let's do the same thing with the light meter for now, right? I think it's because the backdrop is also gray. This one? Okay. Let's move this one out of the way. And of course we have our studio dog on the floor. Oh, he's outside the frame, okay. Okay, there we go. Now of course an umbrella takes away a lot of light, so we have to adjust for that. There we go. I'm going to end up at around f4. There we go, f4.03, so I'm going to one step down. Nice. Annelie, can I get a little bit of a chair over here so I can put everything on the chair instead of on the floor? Okay, there we go. F4 ISO 100. Now you know why we use light meters. Much better. So now I don't see a lot of those shadows anymore. So no irritating shadows, no stuff where you want to go like, ooh, that's too harsh. This is actually a nice quality of light. The only thing is it doesn't really excite me yet. And you know what we need for excitement? For excitement, we need a little bit of contrast in our images. Now, with the umbrella, you might say like, hey Frank, but the umbrella just spreads the light out everywhere. How should we use the umbrella? There's always something called feathering of light. We want to make sure that we use the sides of the light. So what if I take my umbrella and I place it really close to the side of the wall? But I'm not going to aim it at the wall. I'm actually going to aim it forward. My model is still on the same position as always. She doesn't move. That's the whole trick about this. Don't move. Okay, are you having fun? Always, right? Okay, there we go. 5.61, 5.6, that's cool too. I love 5.6. There we go. Okay, now the only thing the model has to do is look a little bit that way. Very nice. And because I metered on her face, I know the exposure on her face will be correct, but now I have more contrast in my lighting. Now we're getting somewhere. Now I'm going like, you know what? Maybe we're on a roll. Let's move a little bit here. Let's do some high contrast portrait. Oh, this is nice. Very, very cool. But what if you want more? What if you want something a little bit more interesting, a little bit more oomphy? Or in other words, a little bit more power. Well, let's turn this one off for now. And take the umbrella out. And you stay, of course. Yeah, you stay. Awesome. So we're going to turn the umbrella here. Going to take the GT200 away for now. And I want to show you something else. Going to take a GT400, 400 watt strobe. Also, of course, on battery. And the nice thing about this one is you have a battery, but you also have an option for power. So if you want to run on a battery, no problem. If you want to run on power, you just click instead of 1, you click to 2, and you have power. And that's nice because during a photo shoot, you never have to worry about running out of batteries. Now, I've taught workshops with this now for 4 weeks. I didn't run out of batteries once, but if you do, it's a very, very nice idea that you also can just use the same cable that you use for your charging. Just put it in here and you can shoot. Okay, so what do I want to show with this one? I want to show you something that literally blew my mind the first time I saw it. And now, Emmeloord, what's the price of this again? Around?
125.
Okay. For 125 euros in the Netherlands, you get something like this. Now you might go like, Frank, there are many softboxes out there. Yeah, I know. But not like this. And you know the difference? There's a grid inside. That's not the difference. But when you're on location, don't you just hate it when you have to set everything up? Take the grid off, take the grid in again, middle diffuser, put the rods in. I know there are collapsible systems out there, but they're not easy to transport. Or you get something like an umbrella. And that's nice, but it's not a softbox, right? So, watch this. There's a little lever here. And when I pull that, there you go. Speed ring. And you can just collapse the whole softbox, a little bit of a rope, and tie it up. Now the cool thing, when you're on location, you see how flat it is? No problems at all with storing. You take your speed ring again, you put it in here, and the only thing you do, and be sure that you do it carefully, take your fingers, and there you go, done. And this saves you so much hassle on location and so much trouble with carrying your stuff, and the grid is already in here. We also have them bigger and even bigger, so bigger, 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 and they all work via the same principle. Everything is inside, you don't have any problems, done. And the nice thing is they're already compatible with the Bowens mount, so most people that use speed lights or smaller studio strobes, like for example Godox, will already have that ring available. Also our 400 strobe has that mount, so let's put it on. Still have to get a little bit of used to it, but we're getting there. There we go. Easy, you see, it's just, even with one hand, you just click it up, bam, and you're done. Now, the nice thing about the 400, I do want to show you this, is that you can actually zoom the light. So if I open this up, I can literally just move this around my strobe to create a zoom effect or not. Let's open it up a little bit more so it goes a little bit easier. So I can literally just zoom my light. Does that have a great impact on your images? It depends. On a softbox, not really. On something like a beauty dish, hell yeah, it changes a lot. So what does a softbox like this do? Let's place it in exactly the same location. So in front of our model, let's just aim it all the way up. Let's first turn it on. There we go. And as you can see, this has a very, very bright modeling light. Let's aim it a little bit down. There we go. Model is in the same location. So let's see, which channel is this? This is channel... Oh, that's so cool. I can't read it. It's too high up. Let's see. Channel A. Oh, group A, sorry. So let's turn off group B. And group A is on. There we go, 1/8. So we're shooting on 1/8 power. That's 2.85, 1/3470 of a second. So that's nice. More than enough to freeze motion, as you can see. Let's go up. This is f4, 2760th of a second. So as you can see, the 400s are a little bit behind on the 200s and the 250s, but they're still more than capable enough to freeze motion. There we go, f4. Let's shoot from a low angle. And this is without the strobe, so you can have a reference point. Always put the remote control on. Yeah, it happens to us too. You're not special if you forget it. Hey, that shouldn't work. Oh, there we go. Awesome. So now as you can see, I have a little more softer light quality. Ooh, he doesn't like it. Let's see what's going on here. Oh, I turned off my camera in between. That's the thing. There we go. Okay. Oh, too nervous. There we go. So soft quality of light, but a little bit harsher than the umbrella. And this is where the light becomes more interesting. More three-dimensionality, more depth in your images. It just gives you a little bit more of that oomph effect that I like. But there's more. When you look at the back, you already see that we're starting to get a little bit of a vignette. And that's what I love. Why do it in Photoshop when you can do it on set? So let's change the light source and let's change it all the way closer to our model. Let's aim it down a little bit. There we go. That's nice. Let's meter. Okay. Now because it's closer, of course, we get way more light output. 5.6, 1/2800th of a second. So again, more than enough to freeze the motion. We need to be over that 2000s. 5.6, okay. Now look at this. Now you can see that we're really getting that nice vignette around our model. The light falls off in the distance. It's a much more engaging shot, especially when you ask your model to look up a little bit. There we go. So we have one shadow area and one more lighter area. I really like that. But most of all, what you can now do is literally make that backdrop almost disappear. So I'm not going to meter again. I'm just going to place it here. And of course, these also support ETTL. I'm not going to use that now. So aim the light away. Let's hope I don't need to remeter. And there we go. It's a little bit hot. So let's just close it down for 1/3 of a stop. Look a little bit more towards the light with your eyes. Nice. So very close to the backdrop, I can literally create the backdrop dark or more lightful. Now, oh, more lightful, is that an English word? I don't know, more light on the backdrop. So how do we do that? Watch this. And this is what I love about smaller softboxes. The only thing you do is you hold the pistol grip and you turn it very, very slightly. Did I turn it a lot? Say no. 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 See? No. Okay, there we go. You will have to clone out a little bit of the strobe because it will be a little bit in the top part. But as you can see, now I'm lighting my backdrop too. If I want a little bit more light on the backdrop, watch this. Did I move it a lot? Say no.
No.
Oh, okay, great. Coach your model. There we go. So almost a Rembrandt lighting. And the cool thing is my model is literally almost against the wall. You don't see any shadows anymore. You only see that beautiful light quality. Yeah, Frank, I don't like it that much because it's too narrow. No problem at all. How about this? Grab your light, move it a little bit more away. So we're going to figure it out while we go. Add a little bit of more light. And there you go. So now you have a nice shadow on the side. You have a beautiful light on your model. And the only thing you have to control is that vignette. If you want that vignette a little bit more closed, hold your pistol grip, turn it. That's the nice thing about the grid. Stand on the same location. And now you can see that we have more control over that side. I think this is much better. Now we have that nice look. Now I can walk around my model and do some other stuff. There we go. Tilt your head just a little. That's perfect. Nice. Wow. So very cheap softbox, very easy to transport, and of course it gives you a great light quality. But what if you go like, yeah, Frank, I really like this, but I want a little bit more broad light, a little bit more, let me put it this way, from top to bottom, right? Now you do know that we love strip lights. Now of course we can use a very expensive strip light, but let's just go for today's tips. Let's go for a very cheap one. So over here we have our non-light strip lights. So let's just switch very quickly. Now normally of course you can just switch. We don't want to do that because we want to continue the live broadcast. So I just put them on another 400. And this is a strip light. Now again, very cheap strip light. I believe they retail for about 100 euros, excluding the grid, I think. So around 100 euros. Now, in all honesty, the quality of the grid... Oh, 100 euros including the grid. Now, I'm used to using Light Tools grids, but the Light Tool grid alone is 600 euros, or 500 euros, or 300 euros, depending on what you use. We're talking here about a strip light, including the grid and the mount for 100 euros. So that's a totally different ballpark. But is it just as good? No. Can you do the same stuff with it? And that's the cool thing. Yes, watch this. Let's place it next to our model. And I'm going to use it the same way I'm using my normal strobes. So I'm not going to do it like this. I also want to light the backdrop. So step one, step forward, please. There we go. This is awesome. And of course you can also tilt them like this, but in this case I want it like this. So I'm going to move it a little bit up so my model's face is nicely lit. And let's just do it like this then. Nice. Okay. Channel C or D. Let me see which channel this is. Yeah, channel D. Let's turn that to channel A. Okay, cool. Okay, channel A. Let's meter the light again. Okay, F4 2340th. Sorry, my English is not... with numbers, it's always a little bit messed up. Okay, so this is one setup. F4. Nice. And now you can see that on the backdrop we have this really nice light fall off, like almost like a vignette, but also more like a spot effect on our model. I really like it that she's in that spot effect, but I'm missing something. And when I look at the shot like this, I'm very happy. But I'm not like, oh, wow. I'm more like, wow. And I want to go, of course, totally over the top. I want to have an image that really has impact. So what do we need for an image that has impact? Now, of course, we want shadow detail. But we also want a little bit of accent light, and sometimes you want lens flare. Now, lens flare is something that you normally don't want in your images because it destroys your image. But sometimes when you want it in there and you know how to control it, lens flare can be a real mood maker, really make that image pop out. So let's take my Geekoto with the flash attachment, the one that I demonstrated here. Thank you. And we're using a dome, so an omnidirectional light source. And let's just put it on a stand. Let's take this one out for now. As you can see with the strip light, you have a little bit more spread on the backdrop, so you can play a little bit more. Ooh, don't worry, Chewy. Okay. Now, the main advantage of using a dome is that it's omnidirectional, so that means the light goes everywhere. And I'm using a gel behind it at the moment, so I'm going to take the gel out just for a second. I'm going to use that later on. Click it on. As you can see, it hardly takes up any space, and this emulates about a 1 meter softbox. But the main thing that a softbox can't do, a softbox aims the light. This one doesn't aim the light. It just goes like boom, goes everywhere, like an umbrella, but a little bit harsher. So let's place this behind our model, aimed towards my camera. Now I know that that one is A, so I'm going to place this one on B. Let me see, channel B, perfect. There we go, yes. Now, I don't know how hard it is, or how much light output. I will figure that out while I'm going. And this is something, and you know that when you watch Digital Classroom a lot, we call this cooking with light. Don't know exactly what's going to happen. I'm just going to add a little bit more or take a little bit out. Okay, now this is way too much. I'm totally lost here. Way too much light, so let's turn it down. So let's go for channel B, let's turn it down. I can already tell you I'm making a lot of mistakes now, but that's on purpose. Nice, so I'm trying to figure this out, and this is something that will happen to you guys a lot. So you lower the light, but then you miss that impact in your shot. But now at least the backdrop is nice, right? But how can I get that impact back? What do I miss? Well, that's direction of light. I already told you this is an omnidirectional light source, so that means that the light goes everywhere. So how do we tame an omnidirectional light source? Well, we tame an omnidirectional light source exactly the way that we tame a strip light or a softbox, using a grid. And of course, we do have grids. Let me first take a little bit of a drink from my Prince glass. Oké, Annewiek, heb je voor mij even een grid?
Ja, die is van
mij. The Rogue grids. Here we go. Okay, there we go. So we're going to place a grid behind the omnidirectional light source. In other words, we're trying to get that beam a little bit more aimed. Let's see what happens. I can already tell you, again, I'm making a lot of mistakes, not by accident, but by design. Okay, now you can see that we have a little bit less light on the backdrop, but we don't have any light more on our model. This is where we start to aim the light. So now, I can aim the light towards my model and get a little bit more accent lights. There you go. So now we have accent lights on our model, we have a little bit less on the backdrop. But when I look at the shot, it's still a shot where I go like, I don't know. Maybe you can take the hair away from that side. Yeah, that's nice. Tilt your head just a little bit. Awesome. Nice. So now we have that really nice side light on the jaw. Real classic, that little bit of highlight on a shadow, I really like that. But let's say you want more. Let's say you go like, Frank, this is nice, but I want that really nice, that creamy look, that almost like everything is faded away with lens flares. Okay, the first thing we have to do then again is take the grid off. So you can tame an omnidirectional light source, but it's still omnidirectional. It still goes everywhere, but a lot less. So now, for example, I have 80 or 90% going from the top and only 20% from the sides. Well, when I take it off, it's like 50 and 50 around here. So let's take this one off. Let's put it back on. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the same technique as before called feathering by placing my light in front of my model. And I'm literally only thinking about myself now. Where I'm going to shoot? There. Aim it towards my lens. Take the sun hood off. Very important, otherwise, well, it's there for a reason. And we don't want that now. I have to make sure that it aims towards my light. There we go. So as you can see now in the image, it doesn't really work yet. There is some light on our model, but I still miss it a little bit, right? So let's move this more towards my model. And again, the mistakes are by design. Later on, it will become clear what I try to do. Make sure that you see it in the edge of the frame, take it out and shoot. Now for the first time in the top, you're going to see the lens flare coming in. As you can see, it's nice, but it's not there yet, but there's already a lot of infection on our model. So let's fine tune. Let's bring this all the way forward. It doesn't even look like it's next to our model anymore. It's way in front. Now we don't see the lens flare anymore, but we also don't see a lot of light on our model anymore. And this is nice, because now I can actually say, okay, go for manual mode. Let's go for 1/4. So a lot more power. This is too much. Go down. Nice. Now we have that nice lens flare on the top. The only problem is I miss a little bit of that lens flare because the backdrop is too bright. So let's take this softbox and let's turn that like this. You can see where we're going, right? We're constantly changing the output. Let's turn the forwards one a little bit down. Nice. So now in the top you can see the lens flare coming in, the back is a little bit dark. You can see that really nice shine over there, which is not really nice, but it's very hot in here. So as you can see here, you can see a little bit of shine, but it's not that bad. But I'm still not calling out wow. So let's try something else. Color evokes emotion. Think about a movie where there's no coloring or no music. It's very boring, right? So what if we add just a hint of color? So let's do blue for now. And mostly of the time I will use the primary colors, so red, green and blue. Let's aim it a little bit more down. There we go. Now, every gel that you use takes away a certain amount of light. Always check on the gels. There's a little bit of a marker like how many stops it will take out. Let's see if I'm doing this right. That's channel A, okay. Okay, channel B. I know I have to correct for 2 stops. There we go. It's a very thick gel. And now for the first time you get a little bit of magic in your shot. You get a totally different look by just adding that touch of color. Now when you look at the screen, you can really see that now the model screams out a little bit more. It's more like wow. Now we want a little bit more light on the backdrop again. Let's aim this towards our backdrop. And in all honesty, I think the model is a little bit too hot. I don't mean you, but a little bit overexposed. So I'm going to go down a little bit. There we go, really nice. And you can literally control the amount of lens flare just by changing your position. Oops, that was my mistake, sorry. There we go. Look a little bit more, there we go, that's nice. Okay, let's do a little bit more from the side here. Maybe include the softbox slightly. That's nice. And as you can see, the light is really blocked by that grid of your softbox. You hardly see the softbox, so it's very easy to clone out. When I look at this, I'm more happy. I'm going like, yeah, this is nice. But I think we can do more. Do you have other outfits with you? Please change. Not that I didn't like this one, this is awesome, but let's change. And I will go here very quickly, explain some stuff. And then we're going to continue in a moment. Okay. So let's switch back here. There you go. Now, if you're interested in the gear that we use, just go to our shop and you can actually buy the Geekotos. You can buy the non-lights we have on there. We have the IQ wires, of course, and everything from Rogue. The most that I want to point out is actually the Rogue system, next to the Geekotos, of course. The Rogue system is something that really changed the way that I work. Having a magnetic system that's so incredibly compact. And this is the speedlight adapter. I mentioned this. This is the biggest one. But there's something else that I want to show you guys, and this is actually pretty funny. Annelie, can you give me that little snoot over there? No, the Bowens, and that one too. Yep, and our own. Perfect, thank you. So, now I'm going to make a little bit of a joke, and don't be offended by that, but when I go on a wedding, I always want to make sure that I have one soft quality of light with me. That's the dome. I put it in one pocket. But I also want to make sure that if the wedding is continuing, especially at night, and you have the dancing couple, you want to make sure that the dancing couple jumps out, right? Now, in most cases at weddings, there's not 100% perfect lighting for that. So you have to create it yourself. Now, of course, you can use a flash bender and bend it into a snoot, or you can use a real snoot. Now, you already saw that the Geekotos use a so-called Bowens mount. Now, the Bowens mount is one of the most sold mounts, so you can get a snoot for the Bowens mount. And this is the smallest one I could find. If I put this in my pocket and I walk around, it doesn't really look nice, right? I end up probably at the police station, or people will go like, is that a snoot, or are you really happy to see me? But in all honesty, it doesn't really feel comfortable to have this in your pocket the whole day. And that just for 1 or 2 shots. But you need it, right? You want to make sure, even during a, how do you call it? When people come out, you want to make sure that you have a little bit of attention on your model. So a snoot is one of the things that I always carry with me. Normally I have it in my bag, I have to take it out, and it's a lot of hassle. Not anymore. We now have the magnetic snoot, and look at this. It's really small, and the cool thing is, this is setting 1. We have setting 2, 3, and 4. And if you're really creative, you can also use it on your backdrop a little bit more angled. Now, the nice thing about this one is, if you place it on a normal speed light, so rectangular one, you will get a rectangular light quality, almost like a strip light. But in the box, there's also a diffusion panel, and you just click that behind here, and now you have a round strobe. So in essence, you have 4 different settings, but by combining it with that diffusion gel on a rectangular strobe, you actually have 8 different ways of using it, besides this one, because this doesn't always work, but it's nice. And this can fit really easily in your pocket together with a dome. So now you have a 1 meter softbox, and you of course have your snoot, and you can put gels behind them too. So that's always cool. Now for the next setup, we're going to create something more glamorous, a little bit of an old-fashioned, let me put it this way, a little bit of a hardcore look, so that's really old George Harrell glamour style. And we're going to use the flash bender for it and a Fresnel. But before we're going to do that, I want to show you a little video from one of our sponsors about a monitor, by the way, that I use myself. So how about that? Hey guys, Frank here, and we have a brand new tutorial for you guys, and it's called, well, you already see it in front of me, Speedlight Magic. And we all know those little strobes, right? But did you know that those strobes are incredibly creative, that you can do almost anything you want with them? Well, this is the video if you want to know more about the speedlights. We're going to talk about the techniques like high-speed sync, first curtain sync, second curtain sync. We're going to talk about fighting daylight, how to mix strobe, what is flash exposure compensation, what is zooming, and a lot more. But we're also going to talk about stuff that's really important for your workflow. What about the perfect remote controls? How about mounting those strobes on a stand? What is a boom stand? Why do you want to use it? And of course, what are my favorite modifiers? Well, if you think that's it, you're totally wrong. We also have a whole segment where we go into the studio with our model Nadine and we're going to talk about lighting setups, techniques behind those lighting setups, but most of all, how to create stunning images with only 2 speedlights. Does that sound interesting to you guys? It sure does to me. So join us on Speedlight Magic, available now. Okay, and we're back. In between, we always need these little breaks to actually set up the new camera viewpoints, and this looks way better indeed. And for the next one, we're actually going to move to another location. But first, we're going to answer some questions. Question time. Hey, Anna, do you also sell the strip box from Nanlite itself? And if so, do you have an Allengram adapter? We sell them in our web shop. So yes, we sell them ourselves. They are delivered with a Bowens mount. But if you go on AliExpress or Amazon or whatever site you go, you can literally find almost every converter from Bowens to Allengram, to Hensel, to Profoto or whatever. It's a really well-known mount, so don't worry about it. You can literally get a converter for maybe 15, 20 euros. Let me see. Does Rogue make the magnetic mounts for the new round speedlight heads? That's the nice thing, Justin. Yes, they do. And that's actually the whole thing. They are meant for the round strobe. So when I look at my GT250, I actually don't need the speedlight converter. The speedlight converter is only there for rectangular strobe, so the old-fashioned speedlights, or old-fashioned, of course. You have Godox that have the same mount. The Geekoto 200 has that same rectangular mount. And this is where you use the speedlight adapter. If you use Profoto, we have a separate adapter to make it magnetic. But we know for sure that it works on the Westcott, on the Geekoto and on the Godox without any modification. So the round strobe, you just click it on and it's there. Okay, no more questions. That's nice. So for now, we're going to use something else. But before that, I want to give you a little tip. Now you see me working with the Commander. Now the Commander is very nice. The Commander I have on my camera and I can set up everything on the strobes that I want. I can use the modeling lights on and off. I can zoom, HSS, ETTL, whatever you want. From a distance you can just control your strobes. Now of course during a workshop I don't want my students, to be honest, to have a controller where they can just change stuff. Hey, let's press A and let's change it up and make Frank crazy. because, well, that just doesn't work. So all the strobes, and this is the main advantage, I think, of a system that's more like a hybrid between a studio strobe and a speedlight, all the strobes have a so-called sync port. So what did we do? Normally, during the workshops, I will use one, let me see, this is a receiver and a transmitter. I will use one of these on the side of the strobe. And this is actually a very dumb trigger. It's just a receiver from Godox. Now, it's not a dumb trigger, of course, it's a receiver. And from the receiver, there's one little cable going through the sync port. And the nice thing is, if you always use the same A, B, C, and D, we don't, but if you do, you can literally also set these up. This is why we chose the Godox ones on A, B, C, and D. So in other words, if you use to A, B, C, and D, and you also want to control them separately from your remote, and you can do it with these. We all just have them on the same setting. So these are on the strobes, and this one I give to the students on their camera. And you can even piggyback the original commander on top. It's a nice thing about having a more expensive system. Now, of course, you can also go online and buy, for example, newer or Godox remotes. We tried them both, and on the GT200 and 250, we had no problems with the newers. The Godox, we couldn't get to work on any of our strobes, not even on the Hensel. So I don't know what's going on with those. We got 4, but we had to send them back. The Godox, we still had a set in our studio because I don't think they're being sold anymore. And we were able to find 4 more. Thank you to Servix in Belgium. And now we have a full set. And this also works great on location. And this is why I give you the tip. Now, the commanders are great. They're very powerful antennas, but you're still working with antennas inside your strobes. Now, they all claim 100 meters, but if you read very carefully, they also go like inside only 30 or 15 meters. Now, 30 and 50 meters is no problem at all. Which of you guys is actually placing strobes at 100 meters distance? It's insane. You don't do that, right? Or you have a very big model, plus size model, plus size model. But 100 meters is insane. 10 meters, however, is a little bit more used. And why is that more used? Because that doesn't take into account interference from Wi-Fi signals. That doesn't take into account actually the busyness of your Wi-Fi signals. You can get a lot of interference that actually brings that down to 5 meters, which in most cases is still more than enough. But what if you block? You see where I'm going? You need something that's a little bit more powerful. And that's the nice thing about stuff like this. Now you have the antennas externally. So that means that you have a little bit better range. And I just think that for the amount of money you pay for stuff like this, it might be a great solution if you work on location. You won't have HSS, but it's a great solution if you want to get back with a little bit more reliable connections. And again, with the commanders, we never missed a shot, but we hear from some people that, and that's not with our commander, but actually when we started with Skyports, Pocket Wizards, they all have the problem that if the antennas are in the strobes, they could be a little bit more prone to interference. This solves it for at least 50% better, and they're not that expensive. Okay, for the next setup, we're going to use something really classical, a little bit of the old masters, and we're going to go to the Fresnel. Now, the Fresnel is a really nice light source, but I haven't used it a lot during workshops or during photo shoots for one very simple reason. One Fresnel retailed for about €2,500, maybe 1,500 euros in some cases. That's a freaking amount of money. That's a lot of money. And a lot of people don't use the Fresnel all the time. So why spend that much money on a modifier? So why do I show it in workshops? So I didn't. We're now using the non-light, and the non-light is not as nice as the Ellengrom Fresnel or the Hensel Fresnel or any other brands. I have to name all the brands, of course, otherwise I'm picky about one brand. But it's for 149 euros, you get something that gives you that Fresnel look, and that actually has one setting which I really like, where you focus it all the way in, and you get this really nasty point of light. And you might say, Frank, why do you say nasty point of light? It's that really hot spot of light that you can place exactly on the eyes, and you get a little bit of the Star Trek original series. You know, every time when you looked at Kirk or Spock, they had this nice light on their eyes. Everything else was a little bit darker. It wasn't that you saw it was a lot darker, but just a little bit. Now, when you create something like that in the studio, you can get a similar effect by using flags. But on a film set, using those flags can be a little bit tricky, right? So they use Fresnels, and the Fresnel you can actually focus very, very nicely, and then you can create that same effect. Of course, you can do it also with flags, so in modern studios, you will see them doing it with flags, but doing it with the Fresnel just takes out a lot of the guesswork. And now you can literally just focus it and have somebody follow your actor with that light source and get a beautiful light. So we're going to do the same thing in our studio. So, Lois, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Me too. And it's very hot at the moment, so I have to drink. I'm sorry for that. Okay, so let's see what we can do with Fresnel. Now, the Fresnel is already on a GT250, and that's a round strobe. And let me first show you what a Fresnel does. So it's now on the strobe, and this is the FL20G. You can also get this on our website. It's mounted on a Godox mount, and this is one of the things that I highly recommend you guys. If you mount something that's more heavy, with the Geekoto strobes, you actually get Bowens mounts on the 250. So you get a Bowens mount with this strobe. But I highly prefer for you guys to use something that you can put on a stand and just click your strobe in. So when I open this, I can literally take the strobe out. When I close it, the strobe is closed. This takes away the strain on the strobe. So you don't have all the weight on the strobe, you actually have all the weight on the stand and not on the strobe anymore. And that saves a lot of worries. So what does a Fresnel do? A Fresnel you can actually focus. So you have a light source that you can focus in and out. Now in this case we're going to focus it all the way out, because I want to make sure that I only hit my model with just the tiniest amount of light. The only problem is we have a lot of light here. So I'm going to see if I can focus the light, and otherwise we're going to just turn off the studio lighting, because for this we really need nice light. So let's turn the modeling light on. There we go. Ooh, you hate that, right? It's really bright. Do you need sunglasses?
No.
And maybe that's cool. You can, yeah, grab some sunglasses. Okay. So now we have a. Let me turn the lights off so you guys can see what we can do with a Fresnel. And if you see this, I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys will grab your credit cards and get a Fresnel, because I'm very enthusiastic that we can now finally demonstrate it in the cheap version. So look at the backdrop when I change it. So we go from a really spot effect, and I hope you can see that on the cameras, to something mimicking more like a softbox. It's not really a softbox, it comes more in the way of a beauty dish, but it's more bright. A little bit that way. You're perfect against the wall. Nice. So I'm going to aim the light a little bit more towards my model. Nice.
This one is 150
150.
euro.
Okay.
So from now light.
So let's focus the light again on our model, that we can really have that nasty light spill on our face. I love this. This is awesome. Okay, let's meter the light. Very important. And of course we have our studio dog also want to join. Let me turn on the lights again so you guys can see what we're doing. There we go. Now a Fresnel will give you a tremendous amount of light output. So if you place it on a 400 watt strobe, don't put it on full power. The model will literally kill you. That's the wrong one. Let me turn this one off. And let's see what channel this one is, or what group. Group A. There we go. Oh, sorry. I hit your nose. 1/8550th of a second, 11.4. So we can go down a lot, because I want to end up at around 4. I won't touch your nose. Hey, let's go up. Keep saying under. That's weird. Okay, let's turn it up. Okay, I don't know what's going on here, but we don't stress, we just solve. So let's try it without the light meter for now. So it should be Let it take 1 or 2 shots and then we will probably get it. Yep, that's F4. Let's go down. There we go. Okay, so now as you can see, the Fresnel gives you that really, really harsh quality of light. It almost is like there's no other light there, it's just a Fresnel. So my model really should look into the light. That's why I said grab sunglasses. There we go, look at this. Oh, that's nice. Can you move a little bit that way? Because I'm shooting into the light. So let's change the light slightly. There we go. Aiming it in a dark studio is awesome. Aiming it here is a little bit more difficult. So bear with me, please. There we go. So a little bit more light on the model, but it's too dark. Do you agree? It's too dark. But that's actually what a Fresnel is supposed to do. We want to make it a little bit darker than our normal lighting setup. But as you can see here, I'm missing a lot of detail. I don't see my model's clothing, I don't see the dress, I only see her face. So let's see what we can do with our magnetic system. So here we have our magnetic system, and I'm going to take out the gel. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the system to fill in the shadows. Now you can do this in Photoshop or Lightroom by using shadows, but why use shadows if you can do it better? So let's take this one. Let's just place it somewhere here. Doesn't really matter where. I'm going to go all the way down. Aim the strobe all the way up towards the ceiling. And aim it a little bit towards our model. Let's see, it's on channel B. Okay. And let's turn channel B pretty low. So let's go channel B to, let's say 132. There we go. So by using that very, very slight fill-in flash, I'm now getting to see a little bit more of my model's clothing. Now, of course, there's a little bit of light falling behind my model, which I don't like. So I'm just going to place the Fresnel a little bit more here. Just a little bit more behind her instead of where it is now. Look at that. There we go. So very bright on her face, little bit of fill-in flash. But it doesn't really excite me yet. There isn't this moment where I go like, wow, this is awesome. This is more like, okay, cool, nice. You remember that gel, right? Let's pick it up again. And let's place it back. And let's see how much color really changes the stuff. Now do remember to look in your gel. And here it's actually, yes, 2. So I need to correct for 2 stops to get the same intensity. So now on 32. So I'm going to go for 16 and 8. There we go. Now look at the difference. Now we're getting somewhere. Now I'm getting more excited. I'm getting a really nice look on her face. I'm getting that blue in there. Can you up your chin just a little bit? There we go. Very picky light source because you have to be right that spot in the middle, otherwise it won't work. There we go. I think we have to aim the Fresnel maybe a little bit more from the front. A little bit like this. There we go. Don't make the glamour shot by aiming it too low. Zooming out just a little bit. There we go. See how much control you have over your lighting. This is just insane. Just by zooming your light, you just totally change the quality. Nice. A little bit too hot because I'm zooming out. So let's lower it to stop. Nice, there we go. Great. But in all honesty, when I look at a shot like this, I go like, yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. It's nice. It's cool. But it doesn't excite me yet in the form of, wow. Let's add another strobe. And we are on a budget, of course. So we don't want very expensive light sources. So let's take my favorite modifier. It's because it has my name, the Frank Dorov Flashbender. And of course you can use the Flashbender as a small softbox, you can use it as a snoot, or you can use it just bare as a Flashbender. I'm using it as a speed light attachment at the moment, as a strip light. We love strip lights. So, and of course I can combine it with the magnetic system and have gels underneath or whatever you want. It's very, very versatile. Make sure you make it really tight. So you have a click system and of course you can tighten it and you can mount it together.
And we have an extension strap for the Canon flashes now.
Yeah, the Canon flashes are a little bit bigger. So we have an extension strap for those. So it also fits on those. Very nice, very tight. And let's place this one from the side. For this one, I'm going to ask my model to step one step forward. Because I don't like the look on the back a little bit. So I'm going to place this one also here. Ooh, this is nice. I'm going to use the back one. So now we have A, B. So let's see if this one will be C. And if it's not, we're going to put it on C. It's not. Of course not. So now it is. Okay, let's turn it up. Aim it towards the light source, towards the camera. Aim it down. And I don't want it totally against my model, just a little bit. It's mostly also meant for something else. A little bit of lens flare, if I'm lucky. So let's go for C. Let's go for mode manual. Let's also go for 1/8 or 1/4. Let's be adventurous. That's too much. The flash bender gives you a tremendous amount of light, so be careful. There we go. A little bit too much. Let's go down. Nice. That's the glow that I love. Okay. Move around your model to create some more tension. Shoot from a lower angle for that hero pose. And there you go. I love the posing. I love everything about this shot. I love that blue in the shadow. It's very subtle. Now let's say that you want that a little bit more. Just go for your B channel. Raise it 2/3. And Larry Becker, if you're watching, I mean thirds. Not the other thing. Nice. So now I have a little bit more blue. It's all about mixing it, just what you want. And as you can see here, that Fresnel really, really pinpoints the model. And the nice thing about the Fresnel is because it's a mix between hard and soft light, I know it sounds weird, I can also shoot it straight from. And now, if I'm lucky, I get a little bit of lens flare from the back. There we go. Not a lot, but just enough. And of course I see my backdrop. I don't want that. So I'm going to shoot a little bit more from here. Nice. Okay, now let's say that you're on location and you go like, yeah, Frank, I really like that look, but the Fresnel, that's big. I can't bring that on location, dude. I don't want it. Can you do something similar with just the Fresnel? Oh, sorry, with the strip light. Yes, you can. You can just place the strip light there, and because the strip light gives you also very focused light, you get something similar. It's not exactly the same, but it will give you something similar. Now, because I always put your money where your mouth is, we're going to do that. We're going to play with it a little bit, because I don't want to repeat the setups during a live broadcast. So we're going to take this one out. And this is the nice thing about not being tied to power cables. And having enough strobes. Can you stand against the wall, please? Let's take our flash bender. Let's aim that all the way up. Use the pistol grip to aim it down. And I think you're going to be surprised when you see this. Channel C. Let's turn that one off for now. Gonna put that in back later. And let's grab the meter. Annemiek? Okay, channel C. 4.01. 113,500. Now, in case you wonder, like, hey Frank, are you lying? No. 13,500. I hope that shows up. No? Doesn't focus? Now it focuses? No? Okay, trust me. Good, by defocusing the camera. Good idea. So F4. Let's first shoot a little bit against, or sorry, with the light. You get something like this. It's nice. It has that Fresnel quality, but the Fresnel is a little bit nicer. So let's just lower this very slightly. I want to make sure that it is there. And just aim it away slightly from the backdrop, so I'm feathering it. Could be that I have to adjust just a little bit, but we'll see that. Yeah, I have to adjust just a little bit. Let me see, this was channel C. So go down. There we go. Nice. So now you have a little bit of that Fresnel look. It's still, of course, a strip light, but you can see that we can get that attention. And that's the nice thing about using a very tiny grid on a very tiny strip light. And in all honesty, with normal studio strobes, most of the strip lights are already bigger than that one, like a 30 to 120, 40 to 30. It's all a little bit bigger, and that's what I love about the Flash Bender. It's a really small strip light, so you can really draw the attention, just like what you do with a Fresnel when you really focus it in, or for example with a snoot. Okay, look a little bit down. That's nice. Look at this, how it shapes the light. And now, what we can do is turn this one on and get that nice blue in again. There we go. So now we have the blue inside, and the normal lighting. Now, if you want a little bit more light on a face, I can imagine, just let her look up a little bit. But now this is straight, or almost straight on the model, like 45-degree angle. This is what you see a lot in those old photography books. Go for 45 degrees. What if I go on the other side and I make it a little bit more, well, interesting? How about this? Or shoot from a slightly higher angle down. Or shoot up. Move all the way over there, please. More. There we go. I'm going to move this a little bit out of the way, because I'm getting a lot from the other backdrop. So I'm just moving that. There we go. Look towards the light. Nice. That's better. And now I can even go lower, because I don't have that strobe in anymore. There we go. So you can really shape the light. Frank, I really like it, but what if? Okay, I hear you going. What if we create something on the backdrop? Instead of using that blue on the model, let's create something on the backdrop, like a little bit of a line. Let's move to our blue backdrop. Blue backdrop. What a tongue breaker. So we're going to take out our big modifiers. So if you can stand here. Is that okay for the camera, Sannevik? Or do we have to change that? A little bit more that way, a little bit back. Perfect. Is this okay? Okay, we need to change some stuff, no problem. One step forward. Perfect. Let's see if we can get this nice. So let's aim this up just a little bit, and we can change in camera perspectives in between. Okay, I'm gonna take this one off. And I'm going to use the snoot, but because I'm on a rectangular strobe, I'm actually going to use the snoot without the diffusion panel first, to show you guys what I meant. So one moment while we set up. So let's take the attachment off. Oops. Oops. Annemiek, kun je me weer even indrukken, alsjeblieft? Yeah, it doesn't matter. My mistake. Okay, done. Let's attach the camera again. There we go. So let's change this and let's try to get a nice little line on the backdrop. Now again, I'm using a rectangular strobe at the moment. I want to make sure that I hit the back. It's on the biggest zoom setting. And should I meter it? No, I'm not going to meter for now. I'm just going to shoot it. Would be pure luck if it works at once. As you can see. It does give you a little bit of that old Hollywood style. So let's just go a little bit higher with this one. We have a loud day. You have one of those days, right? Okay, there we go. Now, if I'm correct, this is still C, so that should be B. So let's turn that one down. Yes. There we go. Nice. Now, if you want it a little bit higher, and I kind of mentioned that. Yes, they do on a week. Or not? Do they come in or not? Let me try one. 1 second. Oh, okay. I hope I didn't damage anything. Oh, no camera. Reconnect. There we go. Okay, let's try it again. Nice. So I want it over her shoulders more. There we go. This is nice. Okay, now let's change the C channel to a little bit more power. And there we go. Now, of course, when you look at this backdrop, you can see that we have a blue backdrop. What if we take our blue gel and actually mount that to that one? So let me see where my blue gel went. I think it's over. There we go. Underneath the dome. Under the dome. Let's take out my snoot. Now again, you know we have 2 stops of difference. So we go for the B channel, add 2 stops. 1/8. Let's go to half. Let's try full power. Let's see what happens. I think that's a little bit too much maybe, yeah. Let's go down. I want a very subtle look. That's better, wow. Nice. And now I can move around my model and create some more tension in my shots. But I think from here, you get that really nice, flat, almost Hollywood style look. Tilt your head just a little bit. Nice. And I think I actually prefer here. Yep, this is nice. So I end in that dark area behind her. So the light is literally just pointing towards my model, and then it ends. Awesome. Can you also use the snoot as your main light source, you might wonder? Yes, of course. Let's change this one as an accent light. And this is the nice thing, you can very quickly just set up your gear, change everything you want. Let's lower this one now. And of course, in this case, we take the gel out, because now it becomes our main light source. And let's just leave it on without the roundness. So I'm still using it rectangular, so more over my model's face. Can you look into the hole? A little bit.
A little bit higher. Yes.
More like this?
Yes, yes.
Okay. The reason I'm asking if she can look into the hole is then I'm sure that it's aimed at my model. So channel, let me see, channel B. I'm going to make sure that it's a little bit lower on power. There you see. This is way too much. Nice. So no light on the backdrop, only that beautiful light on her face. And of course, our flash bender. But now when I look at the shot, I go like, you know what? It would be awesome if we have a little bit of light on the backdrop and of course on our flash bender. And this is where we actually come into the area of, well, a little bit of sandwich lighting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to aim my light anywhere in between my model and the backdrop. And this takes a little bit of trying to figure out what I'm doing. So when you aim your light straight at something, you get all the light on that subject. If you aim it slightly away, you're using the sides of the light, meaning softer light quality, less output. So if I try to angle it in between, I can actually light my backdrop and my model with the same strobe. So let's see if we can do that. So go for B, a little bit harder. Now let's manage the backdrop. Okay, a little bit too much on my backdrop. Let's aim this one a little bit forward. It's not much, just a little bit. Nice, look at this. With one strobe, I'm now lighting my backdrop and I'm lighting my model and have this beautiful Hollywood-like. So now the only thing we have to do is, of course, add another strobe. Let's not do it too hard. Let's get our magnetic system with our dome, with blue gel. No, the blue gel is on the backdrop, so I need the one with the red gel. Let's be adventurous. I'm going to use the dome. Oops. And let me see if I have another strobe left. The round one. Huh? Yeah, I should have another one. Oops. One moment. There we go. Where's the round one? It should be on the Fresnel. Yep. There it is. Let's take this one out. So, this is what one of you guys asked, like, do you always need that converter? No. This is a round strobe, just like your Godox or your Profotos or Westcott. And this will just fit on without any problem. Our own magnets are a little bit tighter, but still, you still need power and you still hear it click. Just make sure it fits nicely and it should be okay. So, no problem there. Okay. Now, we need the pistol grip for this one to mount it on a stand. And this is also the nice thing about Geekoto. They have this really nice pistol grip and you can just mount it on your strobe. So let's do that now. It's a normal thread. There we go. And these are delivered with the strobes. On the 400s you can't take them off. Well, you can take them off, but after that you can't put them on again. And your strobe is damaged, so no warranty anymore. And this holds really nice. You can tilt it easily if you don't tighten it too much. On the stands I tighten it very much. You can hold it like this. And now you wonder, like, how do I put it on the stands? Now, there's a little screw, and this is the nice thing. It's underneath here. And you just put it here, and now you can put it on a stand. Now, you might wonder, like, hey, Frank, why do you mention this? Well, let me put it this way. If you take this one out, and you don't have anywhere to put it, you lose it. And that's the nice thing about this. If you're on location and you need to put it on a stand, you just put it underneath here. If you need it as pistol grip, you put it underneath here. If you need it on a stand, you put it here. So you never lose the screw. So you don't have a screw loose. Stand. Do we have another stand? Yep. There we go. I'm making a mess, Annemiek. Yeah, you're going to clean up later? Okay. So now we have the red one. Let's do the same trick again. So we're going to take this one off. You see that the most work I do actually is taking accessories off. But the strobes itself mount really fast with the accessories. So you don't need to do a lot of work while on location and your customer is looking. I always hate that.
If you didn't put the pistol grip on, you could have left the attachment, right?
Yeah, if I don't put the pistol grip on, I could actually put it in the attachment, that's true. But for the demo purposes, I just show you the pistol grip. I think that's nice. Let me see, channel A. A little bit more work, but for the demo, I think a lot nicer, that you can also see how it works. Okay, so now I have the red gel in. Let me see that there's not another channel A going on. I need it a little bit lower. There we go. Let's turn channel A up to an eighth. And there we go. Perfect blend between blue, red, and light straight on our model's face. And I hear wow coming from Emmeloord. And Emmeloord normally doesn't say wow a lot. Well, not during live broadcasts anyway. Let's turn A down even more, because I just wanted a hinge. And let's try to get a little bit of lens flare from the back maybe. Let me see, she's putting her chin up a little bit, so I'm counteracting that with my strobe, going a little bit more up. And what I am trying to do, I think the light on the face is now a little bit too much focused. So I'm going to turn my snoot back 2 steps. So I'm now using setting 2 instead of 4, and I'm aiming it slightly down. So I should cover now a lot more of my model. There we go, that's better. Let's make sure that I'm not in front. Nice. And the final shot. Okay, one more. Just look all the way up a little bit. Nice. Now don't mind the backdrop. This is more something that you can do on a location where you have like a continuous backdrop. So that's really nice low standpoint or viewpoint. Or just go really close. And I'm now blocking my red. There we go. Thank you so very much. You're awesome. Okay. Let's go back to my desk.
There are some questions.
Yes. There are a lot of questions, so we're going to answer them all. I would highly recommend you guys to ask questions in the chat. And on YouTube. And we're going to go into commercial very quickly because I need a drink. And after that, I will be right back with all the answers, I hope. Hey guys, and welcome to our studio in Emmeloord. My name is Frank Dorhoff, and today I want to talk to you guys about something that we get a lot of questions about. Hey Frank, how do you like this image? Hey Frank, what can I improve in this image? And of course, I love to help you guys out. But online, I mostly am limited to just saying, hey, I really like it, or continue like this, or change this. I can only do short images because, let's be honest, we get so many questions. So that's what actually got us thinking. And we started a Patreon. Now what is a Patreon? Well, let me put it this way. Do you want an extensive photo critique every month? Do you want the bed phone, where you can directly contact me with any questions you have? Do you want to be a member of a group that's closed off on Facebook that have the same interest as you guys? That isn't about putting people down, but it's actually about helping people progress in their photography and retouching. Well, that's our Patreon. Now, by joining our Patreon, every month you can deliver 1 or 2 images. We're not that strict about it. And I will do a whole video. In that video, I will show you how I would do the retouching, what I would change about the shot, and I give you a whole lot of tips. That video is put online on a closed-off website. And it means that only the guys from Patreon can see that video and help you out. So I help you out, and the whole community helps you out. It's just an awesome way to learn. So, if you like what we do, of course the first thing you can do is subscribe to our channels, leave comments, and smash that like button because we really like it, and tell other people about it. But if you want to do a little bit more and help us out creating the awesome programs you enjoy, like Behind the Closed Doors, Digital Classroom, quite frankly, our upcoming podcast, Beyond Photography with the Dorhoffs, and a lot more, then please join our Patreon. I already know you're absolutely gonna love it. So head on over to the link below and start joining our awesome group on Patreon and get a lot of benefits. Thank you so very much for supporting our work. See you online. Okay, you just saw the commercial for our Patreon, and I really want to give some more attention to that. The Patreon website is absolutely awesome. We add you to a Facebook group, we have closed-off discussions, we have people posting images, asking questions. I will give my honest reviews, we do video reviews. We show you all the images from the workshops behind the scenes. Anouk is constantly during workshops uploading small videos or photos and whatnot more. And after the workshop, Patreon is actually the only group that sees all the results from the workshop at once. So I, of course, show you guys also results of the workshop, but sometimes it can take a few weeks. We show a few images each day. The Patreons, they get the whole bench, even if we are on location or whatever, we just upload everything to Patreon. And you can ask whatever you want. Now, on social media, I'm also trying to be very approachable, so you guys can ask on social media anything, but Patreon is really a little bit more special. And I see this as a big compliment, but some people email me like, Frank, why should I join Patreon if you already give so much away on YouTube for free and of course also on social media? The only thing I can say is if you like what we do and you love our content, why not spend $1 a month on us to make sure that we can also eat and of course produce our videos. And if you spend more, like $10 a month, you actually get a personalized video every single month for your images. So if I need more convincing, then probably you're not one of the guys that love our content. And of course, if you can't afford it, no problem at all. Just enjoy the free content. Nothing against that, of course. But if you can, just join our Patreon. So let's go for the questions. Can you control and set the Geekoto strobes with your light meter like with the Godox? Yes and no. The cool thing about the Geekotos is that we have a plus and a minus on the back of the GT200 and GT250s. If you press the plus and the minus together, you can use the Godox controller XP Pro 2. Now we tested it out with the Sony, and on the Sony with firmware 1.2, so that's the latest firmware from Godox, we can have ETTL. We can have plus and minus ETTL, we have manual mode, we have zoom, and we can actually control, of course, everything up and down. Exactly the way that we use our own commander. So if you already have a Godox system, you can literally just combine our strobes with your Godox system. The GT400s, those only work on our own controllers. Now I tested this on the Sony. The Canon and Nikon should do exactly the same thing. If they don't, there's always the manual mode. The manual mode always works. Sometimes ETTL can be a little bit picky when you use older Godox controllers or older firmwares, but just normally what we tested at this moment, everything just works fine, 100% compatibility. There's one customer with a Canon at the moment who has some problems with ETTL. But again, we tested the same controller here and it works on the Sony. So we're still working that out. Just email me if you want any questions about it. But according to Geekoto, it should work on the Godox strobes with the new commander from Godox. So the GP or the X Pro 2, I think that is. And the Sony we tested 100% compatibility. So that should be no problem at all. And the light meter you can then also use, of course, because you're on that Godox system. Now, the thing about the light meter is I can also use the light meter because my 858 from Psychonic actually has a Photix Strata 2 controller inside. So when I teach workshops and I use the Stratas, I can actually control the strobe to go off. I can't, of course, change the output, but I can let them go off. When you use the Godox controller, you can literally, on your flash meter, you can also control the strobes. So that's really nice. Good question. Have you ever tried a Fresnel on your location or outdoor shoots? Yes, Justin, I actually did. And the nice thing about the Fresnel, and this is something, Martin, can you give me that really big deep throat and a normal reflector if you want? So that's that huge reflector and just one of the smaller ones. Just go with your hand, I will say where. One of those, that's okay. And then the big one, all the way at the end. Yep, that's it. So you have to remember something about light. Thank you. So relaxing. Okay, let's take the gel off for now. Now the difference between a large reflector and a smaller one is this. Versus this. That's a joke, of course. That's not the real difference. The difference is if you can put it... No, of course not. Where am I going with this? Now, remember, when somebody tells you a joke, it's always easier to remember. Now, this is what we sometimes call the throat of the reflector. Now, you will find out that the longer the throat, so this one will give you a lot more power than a normal reflector on your speedlight, but this one will give you a lot more power. This will give you maybe 2 or 3 stops more, while this will probably give you half a stop more or 2 stops more. And it also depends, of course, the material inside. You can literally see my camera responding to the reflective material, as you can see here. Okay, so the depth of the throat will actually give you more or less light. And that's actually logical, because when you look inside, you can see that it bundles the light, so it gives it more output, so aims it more at our model. And this is where a Fresnel does a tremendous job. You saw Lois actually going like this, like, ooh, that's bright. And that was actually on the modeling light of the GT250. Now the GT250 has a great modeling light, but it's not that bright compared to, for example, an Hensel. It's a lot dimmer. Compared to the GT400 of us, it's also a lot dimmer. The GT400 really has a powerful modeling light. And this is one of the reasons I'm using the 250. The Fresnel, as you saw in the video, gives you a tremendous amount of light output, especially when you zoom it out. So on location, a Fresnel will save you a lot of battery, just like this one. So on location, bring a Fresnel or something like this. And for the very simple reason that they were so incredibly expensive, we never brought a Fresnel on location, because if you crack it or if it breaks, that's 1,500 or 3,500 euros.
It's heavy as well.
And it's very, very heavy normally and big. And this one is really small. It fits on your normal modifier for Bowens. So yeah, on location you will get approximately maybe 2 or 3 stops more out of it. Saves battery and the beautiful light quality. Plus on location, of course, you can use that zooming. So you can literally just focus on the eyes or half body. So yes, Fresnel on location, you will see me doing that a lot more from now on, thanks to the non-light. And that's the thing, you know, guys, there are a lot of channels out there that don't take anything into account, like how many money you guys spend or how many money you even have. And I always try to be honest in the videos. And I think it doesn't make any sense to show you lighting setups with accessories that cost 3,500 or 1,500 euros just for one accessory that you sometimes use. For that 1,500 euros, let's be honest, you have 3 Geekoto strobes, you have stands, you have softboxes, you have the Fresnel from non-light, and you have the Rogue magnetic system. So you have a whole studio for the price of normally one Fresnel. So that's why I never used Fresnels. But if you look at my work, the Fresnel is the perfect fit for my work. I love those really nice crispy shadows, but the soft quality of light on the model. So you will see a lot more from that NAN light. And again, you can order it in our store. So let me just put it down one more time. And oh, this is funny. Somebody asked me, like, Frank, so when you teach a workshop, do you promote the products that you use? And I think with us, it's a little bit the other way around. I teach workshops with the gear that I use. So I'm not a sales rep that will show you like, hey, this is our new softbox, this is how you can use it, and then I go home and I do something else. I photograph almost every day, so I run into problems almost every day. If I advise gear or I use gear that breaks down, doesn't work, doesn't give you the light quality, I run into trouble myself. So every time you see me doing stuff, you can see the Geekotos, you can see the Hensel, you can see all the accessories that I use. And it's not like, oh, the videos are off, let's put in something else. No, this is the stuff that I use. This is the stuff that I love. So why not get it and save yourself a lot of money, right? Okay, Gabe. Hello, Gabe. I am watching and enjoying the lessons Frank is teaching. The site in the studio brings back many good memories for a week. I do miss Chewy, the studio dog. Yeah, that's the other thing that we try to do. Every time somebody visits us for a workshop, we try to give them a really nice tour of also our life. So we take them out for dinner or we have a nice barbecue. And Gabe was a beautiful, beautiful guest, or a great guest, I should say. Not beautiful, of course, but a great guest. And we actually loved hanging out with Gabe, right?
Yes, definitely.
It was awesome.
Great guy.
So if you are ever in the Netherlands or you want to do a workshop with us, just email us. We have very competitive pricing and you can do a one-on-one with us, or you can just follow one of the group's workshops. Every Saturday we teach a workshop. And if you say it, let's say 2 weeks in advance, we can do the whole workshop in English, because most Dutch people speak pretty much good English. Okay, Stefan says, I love your work. Thank you so very much, Stefan. I would reply back, I love you too, but that sounds weird, dudes. So we do love you, if you know what I mean. Okay, guys, if there are no more questions, I think this is it for our YouTube episode of Digital Classroom. For the Geekoto strobes, IQ wire and ClickPro backdrops, of course, and non-light, just visit our web shop. And I think especially the Rogue magnetic system is something that you really should get for any lights that you use. If it's speed lights or round strobes, that system is just absolutely insane. So thank you so very much for watching, guys. See you again next time. Or in a week, do I have to say some stuff? Do we need to tell people something?
Well, we don't know when the next digital classroom is because we're getting a new roof.
Yeah, we're getting a new roof on the studio with solar panels and everything.
Yeah.
And that can take a little bit of a while, so we don't know. They said it was 2 days, but yeah, you never know, right? So the next digital classroom, let me put it this way. Send in all your questions you want to our email, and I will do a whole digital classroom just answering your questions from our home location. So that means that we don't have to be in the studio. So that means that we can do it from home, and I'm going to answer all your questions. We're going to find images with it, and let's put it a little bit better. If you also want me to retouch some images, send me some images and we will actually do a retouch on them, a little bit like we do on Patreon. There are more questions. Justin says, thank you so very much, Frank. I'm sure I speak for everybody when I say I appreciate it. That's very nice to hear. Thank you so very much for saying that. We really appreciate that. So for now, I'm signing off. Thank you so very much for watching, guys. Stay creative and